The unexpected call. The rust-colored plains of Martian colony outpost 7 stretched endlessly beneath the domed observation deck where Commander Ilara Voss stood motionless. 3 years of self-imposed exile hadn't dulled her tactical mind, but it had weathered her once pristine uniform into faded threads that matched the desolation surrounding her. Her cybernetic right eye, a memento from the Battle of Arcturus, hummed softly as it scanned the approaching shuttle. Unscheduled visitors to this remote research station typically meant trouble. The station's warning system blared through the corridors, a sound Ilara had nearly forgotten in the quiet monotony of her days analyzing atmospheric data and avoiding human contact. "Approaching vessel identified as non-human," announced the station's eye. "Nekari Diplomatic Registry." Ilara's breath caught in her throat. The Nekari, an ancient species of crystalline beings, had been instrumental in brokering peace during the interstellar conflict. She had worked closely with them before her fall from grace, before her final mission went catastrophically wrong and civilian casualties forced her choice between court-martial or quiet disappearance. "Permission to dock requested," continued the eye. "Granted," Ilara replied, her voice rough from disuse. Her hand instinctively checked the pulse pistol strapped to her thigh. Old habits died hard. The Nikari vessel was elegant in its crystalline simplicity, refracting the pale Martian sunlight as it settled onto the landing pad. The airlock cycled, and a tall, slender figure emerged. Even at a distance, Ilara recognized the distinctive prismatic exoskeleton and fluid movements of Ambassador Zurix, senior envoy of the Nikari Collective. "Commander Voss." Zurix's voice resonated with the characteristic harmonic overtones of the Nikari language, even when speaking standard. "Time has not diminished your vigilance." "It's just Ilara now," she replied, studying the ambassador. "I'm surprised you found me." "Finding you was never the challenge." Zurix's crystalline features shifted in what Ilara recognized as amusement. Approaching without alerting Earth Command required considerably more effort. The observation deck had emptied, the station's personnel giving the alien visitor a wide berth. Xenophobia ran deep in the outer colonies, especially after the war. "What brings a senior ambassador to this backwater, Zurix?" Ilara asked bluntly. "You owe me a debt, Commander." The harmonic tones dropped an octave, signaling grave seriousness in Nikari communication. "I have come to collect." Ilara's jaw tightened. During peace negotiations, Zurix had saved her life when extremists detonated a bomb in the conference hall. The ambassador had shielded her with his own crystalline body, suffering fractures that would have killed a human. "I remember," Ilara said quietly, "but I'm no longer the person you knew. I don't have access to Earth Command or diplomatic channels anymore." "I am not here for your connections," Zurix replied. "I am here for you, for the strategist who outmaneuvered the Crayon Armada at Proxima Centauri, for the soldier who infiltrated the impenetrable fortress on Talaris Prime." Ilara glanced around the observation deck, uncomfortable with their exposed position. "Let's talk somewhere private." In her sparse quarters, Ilara poured 2 drinks, whiskey for herself, a synthesized mineral solution for the Nikari. Zurix's multifaceted eyes studied the room, noting the sparse decorations and the weapons strategically placed within reach. "My people are dying, Ilara," Zurix said without preamble. "Not from war or disease, but from something more insidious, something designed specifically to eradicate us." Ilara leaned forward. "Explain." 2 orbital cycles ago, our outer colonies began reporting mass crystalline degradation among our population. The pattern suggested a pathogen, but our scientists found nothing. Then we discovered the truth. Zurix's exoskeleton dimmed with emotion. Someone has activated an ancient weapon, one that targets specific crystalline formations that form our bodies. "A genetic weapon?" Ilara frowned. "That's outlawed by every spacefaring species in the galaxy." "This weapon predates those laws by millennia," Zurix replied. "We have traced its source to a region of space forbidden by the Galactic Concord, the Void." Ilara knew of the Void, a sector of space shrouded in gravitational anomalies and radiation storms. No ship that entered had ever returned. What does this have to do with me? The Concord refuses to authorize a mission to the void. Too dangerous, they say. Too politically complicated. Zurich's facets clicked in frustration. But you humans have a reputation for attempting the impossible. And you, Commander Voss, specialized in the impossible. Ilara laughed bitterly. I'm a disgraced officer living in exile. Earth Command would never sanction. We do not seek Earth's permission, Zurich interrupted. We seek your expertise, your ingenuity, your humanity. Ilara stared into her whiskey. You're asking me to lead an unsanctioned mission into the void to find and disable an ancient weapon that's killing your people? Yes. With what resources? What crew? I have secured a vessel. The same one that brought me here, retrofitted with technology that may survive the void's hazards. As for a crew, Zurich paused. You once told me that the best teams are not those assigned by command, but those chosen by instinct. Ilara stood, pacing the small room. Every rational thought told her to refuse. This mission was suicide, and even if it wasn't, success could reignite Earth's interest in her, ending the anonymity of her exile. But the debt remained, and deeper than that, a purpose she'd been lacking for 3 years. I'll need specific skills, she said finally. People who won't ask too many questions. People with nothing to lose. Zurich's crystalline structure brightened, the Nikari equivalent of a smile. I knew you would not disappoint me, Commander. Over the next week, Ilara compiled her list of candidates scattered across human space. People she'd served with, fought alongside, or faced as adversaries. People who operated in the shadows between legality and lawlessness. Dr. Naomi Chen was the first to arrive. A xenobiologist whose controversial research into cross-species genetic manipulation had cost her academic standing and nearly her freedom. Next came Richard Solheim, a navigation specialist who'd mapped routes through unmapped space that conventional systems declared impossible. Jin Kazama joined reluctantly, a former combat engineer whose cybernetic enhancements surpassed military regulations. His history with Ilara was complicated. They'd saved each other's lives multiple times before her exile, but his loyalty to Earth Command remained strong. The final addition was unexpected. Ash Malik, a young hacker whose ability to interface with alien technology bordered on the supernatural. Ilara had never met them, but their reputation had spread even to Mars. This is your crew? Zurich asked, studying the 4 humans assembled in the abandoned mining facility Ilara had requisitioned for planning. They don't look like much, Ilara admitted, but neither did the team that ended the interstellar conflict. As Ilara outlined the mission parameters, she watched her team's reactions carefully. Disbelief gave way to calculation, and finally to determination. The progression she'd seen countless times before impossible missions. The void isn't just dangerous because of its natural hazards, Ilara explained, projecting a holographic map. It's quarantined for a reason. Ancient records suggest it contained multiple superweapons from a conflict predating all our civilizations. If these weapons are so dangerous, why not just destroy the entire sector? Jin asked, his cybernetic arm whirring as he studied the holographic display. The gravitational anomalies make it impossible to deploy long-range weapons, Ilara replied. And anything entering the void faces the same hazards we will. Which are? Ash prompted, fingers dancing over their neural interface. Unknown, Ilara admitted. The few automated probes that returned transmitted only fragmented data. Gravity wells that appear and disappear. Radiation spikes. Temporal distortions. Sounds like a suicide mission, Dr. Chen observed dryly. It is, Ilara confirmed, but the Nikari saved humanity when they intervened in our war. Without them, Earth would be a cinder. Now they're facing extinction, and the Galactic Concord won't lift a finger. Jin's cybernetic eye focused on Ilara. So we're going to risk our lives for aliens. No, Ilara corrected. We're going to do what humanity does best, the impossible, and we're going to remind the galaxy why they both fear and respect us." Rickard, who had been silent until now, spoke softly. "When do we leave?" Ilara looked at Zurix, then back to her team. "Tomorrow. Anyone who wants out, now's your chance." No one moved. "Then get some rest," she ordered. "Once we enter the void, there's no turning back." As her new crew dispersed, Ilara remained studying the holographic map, her cybernetic eye calculating trajectories and probabilities. Zurix approached silently. "You realize," Ilara said without looking up, "that even if we succeed, the Concord will label us criminals. We'll never be able to return to civilized space. Is that truly different from your current existence?" Zurix asked. Ilara had no answer, but for the first time in 3 years, she felt alive. Tomorrow, they would venture into the unknown, not for glory or redemption, but to repay a debt, a very human reason to attempt the impossible, into the abyss. The Nikari vessel, renamed Horizon by Ilara's crew, slipped silently through the outer boundary of the void. The ship's crystalline hull had been modified with experimental shielding, a fusion of human ingenuity and Nikari technology that might protect them from the void's known hazards. On the bridge, Rickard guided the ship with intuitive precision, his hands dancing over controls that responded to thought as much as touch. The navigation console displayed warnings that shifted and changed with alarming frequency. "Gravitational readings make no sense," he reported, frowning. "It's like space itself is breathing." The probes reported similar anomalies. Ilara replied from the command chair. "Maintain course." Dr. Chen monitored her instruments from the science station, radiation levels fluctuating, but within survivable parameters. For now. Jin stood at tactical, his cybernetic implants interfaced directly with the ship's defensive systems. "Something's out there. Sensors can't identify it, but I can feel it." Ash, plugged into the ship's communications array via their neural link, nodded in agreement. "The background noise isn't random. There's a pattern, like code, but nothing I've ever encountered." Zurix observed silently, crystal facets dimmed to conserve energy. The Nikari ambassador had insisted on accompanying them, despite the risk to his already weakening body. "We approached the coordinates," he noted, "the epicenter from which the weapon's signal emanates." The view screen showed only darkness ahead, a void darker than the space around it, as if light itself was being consumed. "That can't be natural," Dr. Chen whispered. "It's not," Ilara confirmed. "Long-range scans suggest it's artificial, a construct of immense proportions." "A space station?" Jin asked. "More like a space fold," Rickard corrected. "A pocket in reality. The gravitational readings suggest it's bigger on the inside than what we're seeing." Ilara stood. "Take us in, slow approach." Jin, shields at maximum. As the horizon penetrated the darkness, reality seemed to stretch around them. The ship's systems flickered, temporal sensors showing impossible readings. "We're experiencing time dilation," Dr. Chen announced, her voice tight with controlled fear. "Minutes for us could be hours outside." The darkness gave way to a vast interior space, filled with massive structures, geometric shapes that defied human architecture, arranged in patterns that hurt the eyes to follow. "It's a weapon forge," Zurix whispered, crystal facets pulsing with recognition. The legend spoke of such places, where the ancients created tools of destruction that nearly ended all life in the galaxy. "Can you locate the weapon affecting your people?" Ilara asked. Before Zurix could respond, the ship lurched violently. Warning alarms blared as external forces locked onto the horizon. "We're being pulled toward that central structure," Rickard reported, "fighting the controls. Can't break free." "Don't fight it," Ilara ordered. "Power down engines. Let it take us in." "That's your plan?" Jin demanded. "Surrender." "No," Ilara replied calmly. "Tactical analysis. If this is an automated defense system, It's designed to capture intruders, not destroy them. I want to see what happens next. The horizon was drawn inexorably toward a massive crystalline structure at the center of the space, a perfect dodecahedron that pulsed with internal light. As they approached, a section opened like a geometric iris, pulling them inside. The ship settled into a docking configuration that perfectly matched their hull. This place was designed for Nycari ships, Dr. Chen observed. The configuration is too perfect to be coincidence. Xerix's crystal body vibrated with intensity. This is not ancient technology. This is Nycari, but from a time before our recorded history. You're saying your ancestors built this place? Ilara asked. It appears so, Xerix admitted, but our historical records make no mention of such capabilities. History is written by those who survive, Ilara replied grimly. Let's find out what they wanted forgotten. Ilara assembled an exploration team. Herself, Xerix, Jin for protection, and Dr. Chen for scientific analysis. Rickard and Ash would remain with the ship, ready for a quick departure if necessary. As they stepped onto the station, gravity normalized around them. The air was thin but breathable. Corridors of crystalline material stretched in all directions, pulsing with internal light that responded to their presence. It's scanning us, Dr. Chen noted, monitoring her handheld sensors. Specifically, it's scanning Xerix. They followed the brightening pathways deeper into the structure, eventually reaching a central chamber. A holographic display activated at their approach, showing symbols in an ancient form of Nycari writing. Can you read it? Ilara asked Xerix. They followed the brightening pathways deeper into the structure, eventually reaching a central chamber. A holographic display activated at their approach, showing symbols in an ancient form of Nycari writing. Can you read it? Ilara asked Xerix. The ambassador's facets shifted in concentration. Partially, it speaks of a great conflict, a civil war among my people. One faction advocated peaceful coexistence with emerging species, while another believed in Nycari supremacy. Let me guess, Jin said darkly. The peace faction won, and they built weapons to ensure they stayed in power. No, Xerix corrected, continuing to translate. The supremacists created these weapons, genetic destabilizers designed to eliminate impure Nycari who had begun genetic exchange with other species. Dr. Chen's eyes widened. The weapon isn't targeting Nycari specifically. It's targeting Nycari who have genetic markers from other species. That's why it's affecting our outer colonies first, Xerix realized. They have the most contact with other species, the most genetic adaptation. But who activated it after all this time? Ilara asked. And why? The answer came as the chamber suddenly sealed around them. A new hologram appeared, a Nycari figure with a crystalline structure of perfect symmetry, lacking the natural variations present in Xerix. Genetic authentication confirmed, the hologram announced in ancient Nycari. Purification protocol will complete in 30 solar cycles. The Nycari will return to purity. It's automated, Dr. Chen realized. Probably activated when Nycari genetic diversity reached some predetermined threshold. Can you shut it down? Ilara asked Xerix. The ambassador approached the control interface. I will try, but the security protocols are keyed to genetic authentication. It may not recognize me as authorized. As Xerix worked, Jin circled the chamber, his tactical eye scanning for threats. Commander, he called, we've got company. From recessed compartments in the walls, crystalline constructs emerge, humanoid in shape, but composed entirely of the same material as the station. They moved with fluid grace, surrounding the team. Defensive protocols, Ilara surmised, drawing her pulse pistol. Hold positions. The constructs attacked with startling speed. Jin's cybernetic arm transformed into a shield, blocking a crystalline blade aimed at Dr. Chen. Ilara fired precise shots, shattering 2 constructs, but more appeared. Xerix, hurry, Ilara called, taking a defensive position. The system requires pure Nekari genetic material to authorize shutdown, Zurich's replied, working frantically. I cannot provide it. My structure has been altered by too many years in human environments. Dr. Chen dodged a construct's attack, analyzing the situation with scientific precision, even as she fought. The weapon targets genetic impurity, and so does the security system, she realized. It won't accept commands from any Nekari who's been contaminated by exposure to other species. Then we destroy it, Jin declared, his arm reconfiguring into a plasma cannon. No, Zurich's and Dr. Chen shouted simultaneously. The energy release would trigger the weapon immediately, Dr. Chen explained. It would kill every Nekari with mixed genetics instantly. Ilara assessed their options rapidly, her tactical mind processing scenarios and outcomes in seconds. We need to corrupt the system, she decided, not destroy it. How? Jin demanded, holding back 3 constructs with his enhanced strength. Ilara turned to Dr. Chen. Your research, can you create a genetic override? Something that would make the system think pure Nekari genetics no longer exist. The xenobiologist's eyes widened. Theoretically, yes. I could synthesize a retroviral agent that would modify Nekari genetics at the foundational level, make the system think there are no more pure Nekari to protect. Do it, Ilara ordered. Jin and I will hold them off. As Dr. Chen worked furiously with her portable equipment, Ilara and Jin formed a defensive perimeter around her and Zurich's. The constructs kept coming, relentless in their programming. I need a sample of the purest Nekari genetic material possible, Dr. Chen called. Zurich's hesitated only briefly before extracting a crystal shard from his core structure, a painful process that caused his form to dim. My ancestral core, he explained, passed down through generations, unchanged for millennia. Dr. Chen worked with precision born of years of controversial research, combining the sample with compounds from her medical kit. I need to introduce this directly into the station's primary systems. Ilara pointed to a pulsing crystalline node at the center of the chamber. There. Jin cleared a path, his cybernetic enhancements pushing beyond safe operating parameters. Hurry. Dr. Chen reached the node and injected the compound directly into the crystal matrix. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the entire station shuddered. The constructs froze in place, then collapsed into inert crystal. The hologram flickered, its perfect symmetry distorting. Genetic anomaly detected. Purification parameters cannot be established. Nekari genetic baseline not found. System failure imminent. We need to go, Ilara ordered. Now. They raced back to the horizon as the station began to collapse around them, crystal structures shattering as the Central Intelligence tried and failed to reconcile the corrupted genetic data. Once aboard, Rickard didn't wait for orders. The horizon shot from the docking bay, engines straining against the void's chaotic physics. Behind them, the ancient weapon forge imploded, collapsing into itself until nothing remained but scattered particles. In the aftermath, as they limped back to known space, Zurich's condition worsened. The removal of his ancestral core had destabilized his structure. Was it enough? He asked weakly. Will my people survive? Dr. Chen checked her readings. The weapon's signal has ceased completely. Those already affected will need treatment, but there will be no new cases. And the cost. Zurich's facets dimmed further. Ilara took his crystalline hand. That's what humanity does, Zurich's. We repay our debts, no matter the cost. 3 months later, Ilara stood on the observation deck of New Geneva Station, watching delegations arrive for the emergency session of the Galactic Concord. The Horizon's journey into the void and their destruction of an ancient superweapon had forced the Concord to acknowledge what they had ignored, that threats from the distant past could still endanger the present. Commander Voss. A young diplomatic aide approached. The Nekari delegation requests your presence. Ilara nodded, straightening her new uniform. Not Earth Command this time, but the newly formed Vanguard Initiative, a multi-species rapid response force created specifically to address threats outside Concord jurisdiction. In the assembly chamber, representatives from 27 species debated protocols and jurisdictions. At the center of the Nikari delegation sat a familiar crystalline form, Xerix, his structure rebuilt with technology developed by Dr. Chen, now stronger than before. As Ilara entered, conversation halted. The Arcturian representative, a being of pure energy contained in an environmental suit, spoke first. "Commander Voss, your actions were unauthorized and violated multiple Concord directives." "Yes," Ilara agreed simply. "They also saved an entire species and potentially prevented the activation of other ancient weapons." The Arcturian continued. "The Concord finds itself in your debt." Xerix rose, his new crystalline body catching the light. When humanity repays a debt, the universe stands in awe. Perhaps it is time the Concord learned this lesson as well. As the delegates erupted in discussion, Ilara caught Xerix's gaze across the chamber. A debt repaid, and a new chapter beginning. For humanity, impossibility had always been merely a challenge waiting to be overcome. Now the rest of the galaxy was beginning to understand why humans were both feared and respected throughout the stars. Whatever threats remained hidden in the dark corners of the galaxy, humanity would face them, not alone anymore, but as they always had, with determination, ingenuity, and the willingness to attempt the impossible.